Warning, I swear a lot.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to something ever so slightly different to what we normally do. So, the abnormalities in this game are pretty rich in lore. There's a lot going on with them. They're all weird, individual, fascinating specimens, for lack of a better term, and their story records are quite in-depth. Now, I want to read through them, of course. I want to know everything about this game I possibly can. However, I felt that reading through these in the videos would lengthen them a bit because they're quite long, and I've already gotten to like day 13 without reading through a single one, so there'd just be a massive block of story record reading in an episode, and I think it would just kind of mess up the flow when I really just want to progress in the game and see what's going on. So I decided to do this little side video to investigate some of the abnormalities I've already got. Now, if you're following this series and you don't want to be spoiled on what abnormalities I have and what have you, you know, like all that shit, I don't know, words is hard. This video takes place after part 3. So if you haven't gotten to part 3 yet, maybe go back and watch it and then you'll be up to date. If you already have or you don't fucking care, you are in the right place, my friend. Let's get started, because I noticed that we actually have a codex that we can just immediately refer to. Didn't know this was here. What does story? Oh, what? Oh, wow, I shouldn't have looked at this. Okay, never mind, let's just ignore that. Start with our favorite boy. 00303, one sin and hundreds of good deeds. An absolute solid lad who never does anything wrong, absolute legend. A silent abnormality that understands the conflict between good and evil. Its empty eye sockets stare at all those who encounter it. A giant skull that is attached to a cross. It wears a crown of thorns. It floats about 2 meters above the ground. While its appearance is bizarre, it is rare to record an incident of violence against employees involving this abnormality. It feeds on the evil that seeps out during conversations between people. The assigned employee must kneel before it, standing appears to be acceptable, and present their evil by confessing their sins to it. The way it feeds is unknown. Excerpt from experimental records. We have catalogued the sins a person can commit into 3 levels. Level 1, a small lie or action either goes unnoticed or can be shared in jest. Level 2, sins that are more serious and can only be shared with the closest of friends. Level 3, sins so profound that they cannot be shared with anyone. These will be taken to the grave. Employee, redacted, had been assigned to confess a level 1 sin. Energy production via the abnormality increased by 12%. Employee, redacted, was assigned to confess a level 2 sin. Energy production via the abnormality increased by 15%. We assigned employee, redacted, to confess a level 3 sin. 1 minute and 48 seconds after the employee was sent in, a bright flash of light was seen. The light was so bright that it could be seen outside of the containment unit. Immediately following the light, there was a facility-wide power outage. The phenomena lasted for 2 hours. Employee, redacted, lost 6 years of their memory. Further experiments were cancelled. Scientific ethics decree that all footage of those who participated in the experiment is to be kept sealed. However, the incidents left us no choice but to review the footage of the containment unit. Employee, redacted. This happened during redacted at around 4 p.m. Anyways, there was a railway about 20 minutes from my house. Some of my good friends and I decided to dress as forest animals. One of us chose to go as a deer. It was a crude costume. It could hardly be called one, to be honest. Just a pair of clumsily made antlers and a dark outfit with some deer-like spots on it. Omitted. I don't know how our deer friend wandered into the woods. We didn't even notice he was missing for maybe an hour. We searched for him and finally found him in some bushes. I'm not sure if it was relief of finally finding us or what, but he started sprinting towards us, and that's when we heard it. The gunshot. Bang, bang, bang. When I came to my senses, I saw his blood splattered all the way up to my feet. After that, not one of us dressed up as an animal ever again. That's all. By the way, is this really supposed to work? Its eye sockets are empty. It is a skull after all, but I doubt it's blind. It certainly has its gaze fixed on me, and I can somehow feel that it's listening to me. Confessing to it does lighten my heart, admittedly. Afterwards, we investigated the incident in the employee's hometown to get a better picture. We learned that a boy named Justin was shot and killed in a deer costume by hunters during hunting season. Unlike the employee's confession, Justin was repeatedly bullied by other kids. Witnesses said they heard the kids shout, "Run, Justin, run!" right before the gunshot. After the incident, the kids at the scene moved out of town and deer hunting was banned in the area. Excerpt from Abnormality Research Log X-392. Honestly, you can't expect all of our employees to give honest confessions to that skull. Every 1 in 10 employees will tend to say something that is not completely true. It's a bit different from a lie. You can say that it's a subconscious excuse they make. They distort perspectives to justify their actions, even though they are aware that they should be telling the truth. Once this happens, the confession is no longer truly a confession. Yes, I'm talking about you trying to justify your tardiness for 5 minutes now. So it seems that one sin and hundreds of good deeds just seems to be something of a repository of sins. It's a confessional booth. It exists to absorb sins, to take confessions, and I guess it produces energy this way. It is a very basic abnormality in the sense of producing energy, really. It's a power source that is fed on guilt and sin, which is weird, but interesting. Next up, I don't think Theresia has... No, we've been through this. And there's not much here anyway. Okay, moving on. Ah, old lady. This will be interesting. She's a weird one, and I get the impression her story records are going to be tragic. An abnormality taking the form of an old and feeble woman. Anytime someone enters its containment unit, it will talk to that person. What it tells differs from time to time. However, it will always commence with, "Dearie, dearie, would you like to hear a story?" This story could be a lullaby, an unspecified poem, a nursery rhyme, a common children's story, or something entirely new. It knows every children's story and will not stop recounting until the listener finally leaves. Excerpt from counseling records. She may be the loneliest of all the abnormalities. She's filled with loneliness and tells her tales to fill that void. Well, every story needs a listener. When someone enters her room, she'll try to fill that void. Of course, listening to her is a very dangerous thing. She knows every story on Earth, and even those that cannot possibly exist. Our minds can't cope with such a thing. She could fry your brain in an instant. Huh. So she's just kind of sad, really. Like, just misery, just sad, just loneliness. Perhaps not a specific person or a being that, like, experienced loneliness, solitude, and sadness or anything like that, but more like a personification, an avatar. The very concept of loneliness taking this form. I don't know. It's interesting, though. Anyway, the Snow Queen. I don't even know what to expect from this one. A queen lives alone in the frosty winter forest. Like how every story starts, Kai was a child with a kind heart. When the shards of a mirror made by an evil fairy were scattered on everyone's heart, Kai began to see things he didn't want to see, or need to see. He left the small village he grew up in. In an unforgiving blizzard, Kai met the Snow Queen. He became curious of the world beyond his knowledge. He felt as though everything he knew amounted to so little. The snow palace he reached was so cold, but the Snow Queen's kiss froze his heart, and he couldn't feel the cold anymore. There was no joy in the palace, only the long winter night. Gerda was strong enough to remain unpierced by the mirror, and brave enough to go on a journey to rescue Kai, so she set off towards the snow palace. The journey was agonizing. Gerda was hurt and pained. Sometimes she cried. However, eventually, Gerda met Kai. Spring arrived with blossoming roses. Its warmth melted the Snow Queen's palace, and the piece of mirror in Kai's heart evaporated without a trace. Then, left all alone, the Snow Queen omitted. I remember the day we put her in the cryo coffin with our own hands. At some point her joyous laughter was gone. She just cycled through laughing and crying, and eventually she was found in a bathtub soaked in red with her wrists cut. We did not believe in death. I will have her reconstructed from the machines I have detested for my entire life, but have become the only answer. She would have been disgusted by me for this, dying in that bathtub. However, we were too far down the road filled with remorse and regret to feel any sort of guilt. One day, it spoke to me. I remember you. You were a kind-hearted person. The moment I heard it, I was seized by the urge to destroy what I had created with my own hands. Interesting. So it kind of starts more like an old fairy tale, like folktale, you know, like Hansel and Gretel or whatever the fuck. And then becomes something different. The Snow Queen appeared to be a person of some kind. Is this her, though? Are we supposed to imply that this is the same person, or are we implying that this was someone who became something like this through the machines? Because the implication of this passage is that whoever put her in the machines and made her into this knew this person personally, right? Whoever this was. So was it the original Snow Queen, or was it someone who became the Snow Queen? A new Snow Queen? Or, I don't know. That's weird. There seems a lot of context missing there, and it's hard to interpret accurately, but fascinating. Unsurprisingly, Snow Queen is a sad story. Who'd have guessed? This is just going to be messed up, isn't it? It's just going to be unpleasant. Oh yeah, it's no good, it's no good, yeah, it's no good, oh, it's gonna be bad, okay. A white cleaning robot with distinct red eyes that looked like a pair of buttons. It always keeps its surroundings neat and tidy. It was originally a mass-produced helper robot intended for domestic use. The writing on its back says, an innovative invention that can clean, cook, and even serve as light security using various tools attached to its limbs, built to perform efficiently and quickly, manufactured by XX Incorporated. It recognizes a bad mood as a sign that the surroundings are dirty and promptly enters cleaning mode. It will alert its status by stating lines such as contamination detected, commencing cleaning. However, the limbs are equipped with sharp instruments instead of cleaning supplies. Rumor has it they were supposed to be used for cutting meat, but they were made to respond to the clean command by accident. There is no way to confirm whether this is true. It has determined that the screaming humans make after it cleans is a sign of a job well done and a prompt to continue its cleaning. Fucking brilliant. An audio record found within the robot. Oh, it's the new helper robot. Let me see. I want to see. You want to touch it? Then try turning it on and play with it. A phone rings. I'll be right back after I get the phone, okay? Sounds of buttons being pressed. Hello, I am your friendly helper robot. How may I serve you? Cleaning. I want to help mommy cleaning. Environment contamination 70%. Filth level mild. Commencing cleaning mode. Wow, it's cleaning. It's clean. After a few seconds of shrieking, the power abruptly went out. Cool, good, okay, cool, so it's a catastrophe. There's nothing, it's just, it is the most repugnant thing that has ever existed. God, I hate this thing. God, I hate this thing. It's the absolute worst. It cleaned my employees once. The opened can of well cheers. I'm genuinely curious to see what the fuck this is all about. Well, good news, there's a lot here. Holy shit, okay. Employees records, source unknown. Hey, have you guys ever been to one of those lobotomy meetups? Mind you, it took a lot of courage for me to bring this up again. You see, there's a bunch of clubs in this company where employees gather up. I once attended some kind of ping pong group event thing, but there weren't any girls there, so I pulled out real quick, lol. So like, one day I saw this announcement for some weird get-together on the corp message board. I got interested, so I called up the group leader, and he introduced himself as Redacted, from safety. I asked if there were any girls in the group and he told me there were a ton of female employees. Now that got me super interested, so I signed up right away for the upcoming meetup. So I showed up, got a name tag like everyone else. I don't remember everything, but I think I saw like 3 people from training and 2 from information. Maybe half an hour later, the leader brought in dozens of cans of well cheers on a tray and gave one to each of us. I should have realized something was wrong because the can was already opened, but I'm a sucker for soda and I just gulped the damn thing down my throat the moment he passed me a can, lamau. Now after that, the leader told us it's time to move and he said he got a van rented for us. We all thought he was an awesome guy for that. I hopped in the van with 2 employees from the Horde and 1 guy from the same department as me. Leader said it was going to take about an hour drive so we can just nap if we wanted. So we did. Weird thing was though, I went to sleep real fast. Like real fast. Like the moment I shut my eyes, I was out like a light. I have insomnia, but for whatever reason, I fell asleep so fast then. That was my big mistake. Anyways, I was sound asleep, but then I heard seagulls, and I was like, what the fuck? Seagulls? Yeah, at first I thought it was someone's phone alarm, then I heard waves crashing. I was like, man, this is way too real to be a phone alarm. So I opened my eyes to find myself lying on a deck. I was on a goddamn boat. An actual real-life boat. I knew I was screwed the moment I saw shrimp hopping around. It sent chills down my spine. I wanted to believe it was all a dream, but I swear that shrimp's realistic flopping was a sobering sight. The realization crushed me like a hammer, and I was surrounded by people who looked like they were the crew. They were all beefed up. It felt like they put me back to sleep with force if I said something wrong. One slip and I'd be swimming with sharks. The crew was something around 10 people, including the captain, boatswain, cook, and all that. They all chuckled at me while I was spacing out. The guy who looked like the captain walked towards me and asked me about my height and weight. I asked him when the ship goes to port. He told me it'd be about a month, but that I shouldn't try and run away or anything because they'd already made a deal with my people. I had no damn idea who my people were, but I was too scared to ask. Then the other crew members called me over for lunch. They were making instant ramen, putting shrimp, crabs, clams, and all sorts of other stuff in it. They told me to stop acting like I was about to jump into the sea and to try their ramen. I said no at first, but they laughed at me again, saying there weren't any sleeping pills or stuff like that in it and gave me some anyway. A man's gotta live, so I ate it. It tasted better than I expected to. As soon as we finished lunch, they told me they were going to teach me how to adjust the ropes. I pretty much gave up at that point, so I just simply answered, sure. All I could see anyways was these little islands that no one would have a chance of surviving on. For a month, I learned how to pull up fish traps, fill bait boxes, repair fishing nets, cook some ramen, get coffee, and all sorts of stuff. I kept getting better and I got to the point where I could prepare mackerel sashimi and fish stew for the crew. Everyone complimented it, said I could open a restaurant with that stew. Later on, we went through a couple of typhoons. Them and I started forming some kind of bond, a companionship. Whales were becoming a common sight at that point. 2 weeks in, the captain told me I was pretty good and asked me if I was interested in officially joining the crew. When I thought about it, I would have been fired from the Corp anyway, so this seemed like a legit opportunity to make a living. This is the first time I ever got a compliment after all. What am I doing now? Well, I've been promoted and now I'm living fine. I found true happiness in cracking open a cold one with the boys after a hard day's work, covered in seawater and sweat. I'm at the port now, but we gotta take off soon to catch some more shrimp. Never know what your future holds, bros. Sometimes I think about those other folk who were at the meetup that day. Not that I really want to snoop around to find out though, I just try to keep a positive mind. I want to say they're hopefully doing good, just like me. Oh, it's time to sail out. See you guys. So, what, does this universe have fish people as well? Does every fucking Eldritch universe have fish people? What is it with all the fish people? It's always fish people. Well, I guess we've learned more about the lore in the sense that there are fish people. Okay. That was a fun little story, though. I enjoyed reading through that. Ah, boy, here we go. An abnormality whose brain is imbued with rage, screams, and malicious cries. There is a wound on his forehead that never seems to heal. He hates everyone and everything. He wears a straitjacket, but is as free as any man. No amount of chains and restraints is enough to prevent him from committing violence. He always had to wear a straitjacket. Some say he was a death row inmate from a federal prison. The researchers were always cautious around him. They felt that the straitjacket couldn't contain him. The researchers wanted to study a murderer's brain to prove that innate evil existed. It was difficult to determine who was worse, a man who murdered the innocent with no remorse, or the researchers who wanted to open up his brain to satiate their curiosity. A wide range of medicine and chemicals were injected into him. Some were used for the sake of humanity's future, while others were for new medical techniques. They all had the potential of changing the world. The researchers were getting more and more excited, although they didn't openly express so. It was almost palpable. They said they found a cure, but they never said what was cured. The prisoner spoke less and less. His aggressiveness was suppressed, but at the same time, he lost himself. After an extensive review, he was permitted to have the straitjacket removed. It feels like my head is turning into metal, so I sometimes hear metallic creaks in my head. As the days passed by, he began inflicting self-harm. He would continuously hit his head on the wall or hard surfaces. He insisted on checking if his head really was turning into metal. One day, they eventually decided to leave him with the hope that he would stop once he was wounded. However, even with blood pouring down his face, he wouldn't stop until his wound was so deep the whites of his skull were peeking through. He had to wear the straitjacket again, but he was no longer feared or monitored like before. A researcher died. It would have been difficult to identify him without his ID card as his head was violently crushed. Lax security meant that the doors often left unlocked or unattended. The prisoner everyone believed to be confined was moving around on his knees. My head, turning into metal, bolts in my brain, being flattened. He kept repeating strange words, and the final procedure was quickly put into place. Treatment was halted, and he was dissected so his brain could be used for research. How do I know? I sedated him myself. He kept muttering nonsense until the end. Ends begins, end. I don't even begin to know how to unpack that one. It does not in any way explain why his head turns into metal when he breaks out and gets violent. I have no idea. He's just a personification of rage, it seems. It's just a completely unhinged thing. Whatever he is, he's a real fucker to work with, I'll tell you that. Void Dream. This is probably gonna get complicated. I wish to sleep eternally, so don't bother trying to wake me up again. An abnormality whose form sports a goat's fur and horns. It is not unique in regards to its appearance with the exception of several colourful eyes embedded upon its body. Gaining information about this abnormality is expected to be difficult due to its ceaseless slumber. The following counseling log illustrates how Void Dream's ability to make any person's slumber psychologically affects the employees. The results indicate that we cannot utilize this ability to reduce the mental corruption of our staff. Please refer to this record for further research. Vincent, is that a Catherine reference? I'm on to you. Please make it quick, I gotta sleep. Counselor, is that because of the abnormality? Yeah, I remember something that looked like a sheep passed by me. And, well, I fell asleep. Since then I've been like this. Do you remember the dream you had back when that occurred? Oh, I could never forget that dream. Could you please tell me as much as you can about it? It was a happy, wonderful, sweet dream. That's all the words I need to describe it. Heck, I even felt glad to be working for this company, and I saw a guy who's not with me anymore. He was right next to me, emitted. Because of that, I couldn't get a hold of myself when I woke up. I see. I've heard a little about you from the other employees recently. All of them say that the only thing you do outside of work hours is sleep. Could you please tell me why? Don't you understand what I'm talking about? I just want to have that dream again. That dream where I was there with him, recalling those happy moments, but I couldn't go back no matter how times I slept. I slept, and I slept, and slept, and slept, and slept, and yet... I see. I'd advise you to take some rest in your room. They said everyone who woke up after hearing that abnormality sound went mad. People think it's all because they had a horrible nightmare they couldn't handle, but it's actually the other way around. The reality they had to wake up to was so terrible that the soul gave up on waking life. As you know, time flows differently in dreams. A mere instant of waking life consumes an eternity in the dream world. Maybe if Void Dream were to put me to sleep again, then I might just have that wonderful dream anew. I'll prescribe you some sleep medicine. I assure you that it will help you sleep. Please get some rest for now. Finally, you will be prohibited from entering the Abnormalities containment unit from now on. Yeah, I wonder why. A demon must grant sweet dreams to deceive others. A crack appears in the human mind when it is shown the dream it yearns for. A demon will never miss this chance to bring one to their doom. Don't say such complicated things. Don't say those scary words. I just want to grant people sweet dreams. Grant them the enrapturing dreams they want. Those who've had my dreams are destined to come back to me, so just close your eyes. In the dream, your smile was beaming, and we chatted with such liveliness. When I came back to waking life, I realized I was back in a world in which you no longer existed. I felt a void as big as that fleeting happiness I felt in my dream fill my heart. I closed my eyes and forced myself to sleep, but morning was still to come no matter what. I think that's when my soul started to crumble. In fact, I was already broken since the day I parted with you, but I've only been acting fine. My soul was already shattering itself into fragments after the passing of that day. Once I saw you again, my yearning for you began to bear down too heavily. I could never go back to my old self again. Counseling, rest, all of it was useless. I spent days by myself, agonizing until I finally realized it. It lured me with an unforgettable bait. That was the price for eating away my nightmares, and then it left me with nothing but void, so I would have no choice but to return to it. Then, I have lost to it. I don't want to know anything anymore. Please, eat my dreams. That's a fascinating one. That is a fascinating creature. It just tempts you with like the best dream ever, and then you can never get it again unless it puts you to sleep. At which point it would probably, put you to sleep permanently, and then you just die. It seems like a pleasant way to go, but it's still not ideal, is it? But interesting. We've kind of gotten a grip on Void Dream in our playthrough, so he's not so bad anymore, but still clearly quite dangerous. Is this actually the last of all I've got? Oh shit, I didn't actually have that many. Okay, well. We're going to round it off with what might be a nice one, but also might not be. It's Pop-Die. Hey, this is a long one. Okay, oh wow. Okay, cool. All right, well, let's go on with this then. This abnormality was created with the ideas provided by Tumblebug backer Lee Yun-hee. A super fluffy, ultra cute puppy with white fur like fresh snow. This abnormality is so cute that just taking a short little glance at it will make you feel so much better. It has the eyes of an angel and is the purest thing in the world. Further description of this creature have been omitted for brevity's sake. The rest of the sentences are essentially just saying it's so cute in various ways. This little abnormality can be evil at all. The only thing you have to worry about is your heart aching if you look at it for too long because it's just so cute. In fact, employees who enter this abnormalities containment unit tend to lose themselves a bit and often need to be forcibly removed from the unit by other employees. Caution needs to be taken as the assisting employees can also become captivated by its cuteness and become lost as well. Attempts to bring the abnormality out of its unit may occur from time to time, but this is not a concern as they are typically prevented by other employees. When too many employees want to work with this abnormality, a lottery will be held to decide who gets the privilege of doing so. Our employees tend to show symptoms of mental regression such as oddly toned speech with a high pitch upon entering its containment unit, but this seems to only be a temporary problem. Many of our employees refer to this abnormality as the goodest boy in the world, Pop-Die. However, its official designation is simply Pop-Die. Please make sure you don't get confused. Every employee who enters its containment unit must upload a video or photo report of this abnormality. This is highly, extremely, uber important. Ensure that nobody misses this step. A company of this size will always have a rumor or two floating around. I heard that you can hear someone's bones breaking if you walk the hallways at night. If you try and track down that sound, you'll find a yeti who's eating one of our employees. However, we don't have an abnormality that looks anything like a yeti. Excerpt of an audio record. You should be thankful, dude. You've got a lucky chance to get to work with the goodest boy in the world, Pop-Die. It's bapping me with its paws. Is this an attack? He just wants you to feed him. Don't you know that it's a trend in our company to always carry a packet of dog food or two? Well, I don't really like animals. By the way, this little puppy's pretty beefy. Is that how dogs usually are? I guess this one's played a lot of catch, huh? We used to play fetch with him pretty often just to watch how cute he was running after the ball, though we stopped for some reason. Hey, did you see his face when I fed it? It was super creepy, I swear. It's just your imagination, man. He's always like our little angel. Isn't that why? Who's a good boy? Jeez, does this thing have some kind of power to mentally manipulate people? No idea what you're on about, Jacob. Do you want a little buddy? Little cutie pie? Did you wait for me, Papadai boy? Hey, it's eating something. Aren't we supposed to be the first people in its unit today? My little goody good boy was just hungry, man, he's just so cute. Look how he's numbing on that. What the hell is it chewing on? Shit, I knew it. That's James's finger, man. He went missing during the last patrol shift. Can't you see the nail? Remember him bragging about having a heart painted on his nails? I told you, dude, this thing's no good. I can't believe it. Who? This Abnormality's the killer. I get that you're shocked, but I told you a bunch of times that there's no way a cute pet could be harmless in this place. Man, I'm glad you finally came to your senses. Who wouldn't feed him on time? Huh? Poor little guy's been starving all night. It's so heartbreaking. Well, I think we're supposed to suppress it. How could you even suggest doing something so heartless to a cute little good boy like this? Just look at his eyes. How could an innocent little animal do anything wrong? Isn't that why, you good little cute boy? The Abnormality shows no reaction. Only the sound of a bone being gnawed on is audible. Dude, your little angel is gnawing on our colleague's finger. What are you, a newbie? Don't you know everything cute is forgiven here? I've never heard that, and I seriously don't think it's true. We've got a tranquilizer, and if you won't, then I'll do it by myself. The sound of a tranquilizer shot fired can be heard. No! The Abnormality begins to whimper. The recording cuts off after a bit of shouting. Following the evidence I've provided in the recording, I request that Jacob be immediately demoted for firing such a thing at Papadai. A terrible, evil animal abuser has no place working in our company. Our goodest boy in the world, Papadai, has been traumatized by this incident. He'll only eat 5 kilograms of his favorite snack now. To help him cope with the trauma, I suggest we request a new snack for Papadai. Premium grade salmon, rich with vitamin B. I'll be waiting for your reply. Reply. Your requests have been accepted. P.S. In your next message, please make sure you attach 5 different photos of the goodest boy in the world, Papadai. Thank you in advance. So there you have it. What is by far the most dangerous abnormality in the facility is Papadai. I kind of wish this aspect of this app. I get that this is like it's a fan-backed Abnormality design, right? And it's more of a joke than an actual in-universe like thing. You know, it's not really it's not designed for lore building, it's designed to be fun. But I think it's kind of a shame that they didn't work a bit more of that sort of manipulation and enthrallment into the game mechanics around Papadai. Just sort of make it like, I don't know, have your employees desperate to go back in there or something, like they were to disobey your orders, or I don't know, something along those lines. Feels like a bit of a missed opportunity, because all that Papadai is, really, in terms of gameplay, is just use instinct. If you fuck up, it'll break out and attack, which is a little basic. But to be fair, I think it would be quite difficult to make like a proper game mechanic around this thing based on like manipulation and stuff, although I hear that other abnormalities later on in the game do manipulate things. So it wouldn't be that far out of the realm of possibility to make this thing as well. But I don't know. I have actually caught up on all of my anomalies. I don't have nearly as many abnormalities as I thought I did. I have significantly less than I thought I did. But at the very least, everything I've done today has saved time that could be spent in the videos actually progressing and working on the game and moving forward. So, like I said, this is just a little side video to cover this, and if you're here, thank you so much for watching. I'll figure out a metric as to how often we do these videos, but once again, thank you so much for watching. Where happens next time, there'll be more Lobotomy Corporation, and I'm really excited, and I hope you are, and I hope I see you there. Toodles, goodbye.